Before I begin, I want to wish you and your families a happy Thanksgiving. At 2:30 p.m. on September 22nd, 1966, a raid took place at 10211 Queens Boulevard in Forest Hills, Queens, home to the Stella restaurant. This wasn't an ordinary raid. At the time, the New York City Police Department had embarked on a campaign to eliminate what they considered top hoodlums. Members of the 112th Precinct barged into the restaurant where 13 men were having lunch and took them into custody. In attendance that day were the following: Carlos and Joe Marcello, Anthony Corolla, Frank Gagliano, Thomas Eberly, Mike Miranda, Dominic Alonghi, Anthony Cirillo, who they called Tony the Sheik, Joe Colombo, Santo Trafficante, Joe Angallo, Neil Della Croce, and Carlo Gambino. They were all dressed in suits and were found to be carrying large sums of money. The men were charged with consorting with known criminals, as well as subpoenaed to appear before a special grand jury. Following the arrest, an article in the New York Times, dated September 23rd, 1966, was titled, 13 Seized in Queens in Little Appalachian, comparing this meeting to the infamous Appalachian meeting that took place on November 14th, 1957. As to why the men were meeting at La Stella, there are many theories, such as discussing the ongoings of the Bonanno family, who back then were in the middle of an internal war. Another theory is they were there to discuss who would replace the terminally ill Tommy Lucchese, or to settle a dispute that was taking place in New Orleans between Carlos Marcello and Anthony Corolla. Another theory is they were mediating in regard to New York members muscling in on New Orleans territory. And this last theory makes no sense at all, that Della Croce and Gallo was seeking to overthrow Gambino, something that would be difficult considering Gambino was sitting at the table. I believe the only person to make a statement was Carlos Marcello. I decided to see some of my old friends, so we all got together for lunch. Sure, some of those fellows had been in the rackets, but if they're in the Mafia, I don't know a damn thing about that. This was strictly a social gathering. That's all there was to it. What's the matter with some old friends getting together for lunch? As I mentioned, the theories were many as to why these guys were meeting, but not everything's a conspiracy. It could have very well have been a lunch between old friends who just happened to be high-ranking members of the mob.